Thank you, Chair. The webcast is now live. If you'd like to start the meeting. Chairman, the webcast is now live. If you'd like to start the meeting. Oh.
Hi, Michael. Are you ready to start?
Yes, I was a bit. I was trying to see everybody on the screen, but I could only see a few, even though it said that everybody had got their videos on. So I don't know quite what's happening.
No, we can actually see you twice.
Can you?
Yes.
Well,
but if you want to carry on regardless.
That's because I clicked the wrong thing and left, and now I've rejoined.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, shall I try and see if I? Oh, it doesn't matter if we can carry on with the double me.
Yes,
we'll
please.
do that. But I don't know why I can't see everybody else.
I think it's because you can have different modes where you can see a sort of gallery view, and there's another mode where you can only see the person speaking at the time plus a couple of others. Yeah,
where do I click onto that one, Lauren? I can see you now.
So if you've got 3 dots at the top, you should click that. It says more actions. And then you want to tick gallery or large gallery if you've got that option.
No, I've got 3. Here we are. More actions.
Yeah. You want the gallery.
Enter full screen. No, not. No, it's not. It's not coming through.
Some device.
Not to worry.
Well, when somebody speaks, their face will appear.
Yep.
So that might help. I
think we should begin, and I'm sorry that I can't see everybody, and that means that it's going to be difficult to see people's hands up or anything like that. Mandy, can you please control things as necessary? I can see that we've got a good sort of dozen or so people present. So welcome everybody. I'm very pleased to see you, and or at least virtually be in touch with you. And welcome to this meeting of the Staffordshire SACRE. May we first take any apologies we received?
Thank you, Chair. I've received apologies from Gabby Oldfield, and for the purposes of the webcast, if I can just go through the members that I know are present at the moment. We have yourself as Chairman, Reverend Metcalfe, Sam Kirkwan, Mohammed Parak, Ian Lawson, Lauren Nicholson-Ward, Saeed Hussein, Judy Wyman, Vicky Longston, Lydia Bartlett and Sean Miles.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Sorry, Mark Sutton has just appeared as well. Oh, and
okay.
Bob Spencer.
Right.
And Mohammed said he has just appeared as well.
Right.
Yeah. Not too late, yeah.
Well, welcome everyone. I don't think we have any new members, do we, Mandy?
No new members at this meeting.
All right. On to item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. These have been circulated. May we first just make sure that we agree them as an accurate record. On the first page of these minutes, which is actually page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and page 6. Nobody's raised any objections to this, so could I please have a proposal that they be accepted as a true record?
Michael, sorry to interrupt, it's Judy here.
Yes.
A very minor typo.
Yeah,
on the very last page, page 6, resolved section E. You're calling me Julie, not Judy.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, sure. Sorry about that. That's partly because we do have a Julie, but a different surname. Of course, we do correct that.
And it does come up. I'm referred to again somewhere else in the other papers.
Right.
So I'm not particularly stressed by that. I go by.
It should be possible to distinguish you because you've got a DY at the end, not a DIE.
That's right. That's
yes.
right. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Anyway, that is Judy Wyman at the bottom of subsection E. Yes, after in 76. With that correction, can I propose from the chair that they be accepted as a true record? Could you indicate with a hand or otherwise that you're in favour, please?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I'm seeing people's names put up. That's good. Thank you very much. Very quickly, going back to the start of the minutes, any matters arising? We'll go through these as quickly as we can. On page 1, have we begun looking for a new rep for the free churches? Minute 69.
I've had no volunteers so far, Chair.
You have asked the free churches?
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me a moment. Hello again. Sorry about that. On to, I say, anything else on page 1? Page 2.
Yes, with regard to Chris Giles, the regional ambassador that visited last time.
Yes.
My email address has been provided to him to make contact, but I haven't had any contact as yet.
Okay, thank you. And a little bit above that, have we sent a copy of the agreed syllabus to all members? And
yes,
is it on the website?
Yeah, Mandy did that, yes. And
well
it's
done, Mandy.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll mention that in my own NATICA report as well, or related things. Page 3.
Michael, can I just interrupt again?
Yeah.
Linda has got to the phase where she's just waiting to be admitted to the meeting. So can Mandy let her in?
Of course.
I'm sorry, I don't seem to have her on a list. I don't.
Who?
Linda Goodwin.
She isn't showing up on my screen at all. Waiting to be admitted.
I think we'll have to give up then. Sorry to have interrupted your flow.
No, we have to cope with these technicalities, even when the chair switches himself off. Anything on page 3? I've got a query at the very bottom of page 3. It's about the reporting to the survey, Mary.
Yes.
It says that only 5 secondary schools out of 10 maintained schools had responded. But it's are all the 5 out of those 10?
Yes.
But in that case, that's 50%, isn't it?
It is. But remember last time you asked me not to put any percentages in because you said the number wasn't of high enough to be a valid percentage.
Statistical.
Yeah. In the result,
validity.
It said percentages in secondary schools' responses should be taken out.
I hadn't realised that 5 out of 10 was 50%, but we'll just take note of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anything on page 4?
The annual report.
Yeah.
I updated it as requested, and I've sent it to Entrust, and they're sending it out to schools.
Yep. Well done. Thank you very much. Yeah.
And they thanked me for the report, and they said they would get on to it.
Okay. Yes. They are our sort of liaison with schools for this purpose, obviously.
Yes.
Anything else on page 4? Page 5, contacting local universities. And setting up a course for teaching assistants.
Yeah. And trust, we've asked schools, do they want any support at the current moment? And no schools have said they want support. They're all a bit bogged down with COVID-19. I have been providing online support, and any teaching assistants that need that support have been able to access it. We've offered schools some support. Only one school has said they want any support. So they're not willing to run a course just for one person, but I can liaise with that one person, and they have joined other webinars to do with disadvantaged pupils and that type of thing. And then with regard to the universities, they have said to me, please could I contact them when they're back into full-time face-to-face teaching, and they'd be able to answer the query a little bit more fully. In other words, they don't know what they're doing.
Okay, yeah, yes. Anything from the universities?
That was the universities I contacted.
Oh, right, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I think they're dealing more with trying to set up their own online learning, trying to see how many students are back in, coping with any face-to-face students that may have COVID-19. I think they're in a bit of a quandary, and I think they're sorting out residents' money, you know, for accommodation. I think they're really on the edge.
It's a nightmare for all places of education at the moment.
Yeah. But when they were back in full time, they said, please, would I contact them again? And they would help and support me.
Okay. Anything more on that item? Item 74. Okay. Anything further on page 5?
The SACRE budget. Judy and I have been on about this, haven't we, Judy? And I'll report on that when we get to that report section in the agenda.
Well, in view of the fact that Judy's got to leave, I wonder whether we should bring that report further forward. What do you think? Do you want to be there for that, Judy?
Well, I can just tell you what I have done, and there probably won't be any need for you to bring the item forward, because I have been in touch independently from Mary with SCC Finance, particularly a lady called Alison Barnes, who's quite high up. She's one I was in touch with previously, and I've asked her the same question, that if there is money available in a budget, however small, surely it should be carried forward, and I'm waiting for her reply.
There's a certain sort of local authority mindset, isn't there, about yearly budgets?
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. But we can pursue it.
We can. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Any other matters arising that anybody's noticed or want to raise? Okay, moving on then. Item 4, update on key issues. Over to Mary.
Okay, well, everything is outlined on page 8 and going forward. So we've had to pause the Explore, Engage, Reflect project, as you would have expected, due to COVID-19, because this was a face-to-face project. I did offer continuous professional development to schools to attend RE training, and nobody took up the offer except for one school, and it wasn't financially viable to have one school.
No.
But I have been in contact through emails, etc., as indicated there. And I am also liaising with Jane Thorpe, who runs Entrust, to be looking at a course later in the year on greater depth in RE. So I am discussing that with her.
Very good, yes.
Update on sacred spaces, which was the key.
Before we go on, you mentioned SIAMS at the very end there. In case people don't understand that, that's the arrangement for the special faith-based elements of a school's programme and activities to be given an inspection by the designated authorities, and the A and the M there are Anglican and Methodist schools, getting a special inspection arrangement for their collective worship, for their RE if it's under their own faith-based syllabus, and for the school's ethos. some of schools have asked for support with that.
Yes, they have. I had an email yesterday from the central office that is sorting out SIAMs, and it's, instead of it going to be done now on a diocesan basis, all inspections are now going to go through a national office, starting possibly in the summer term or in line with the Ofsted inspections when they start. So this will no longer be taken over by Lichfield, it'll be through the national office.
Yeah.
I only knew that yesterday.
Can I ask a personal question, Mary?
Yes.
What hat are you wearing when you have written this comment about Church of England schools asking for support? Is that with the Entrust hat, or was it with your SIAMS inspector hat?
It's, well, I suppose it's both.
Sorry about the question.
No, well, Entrust would give me the name of a school that needed support, and then I would provide that support, but then I have my inspector hat on as I look through documentation, and I provide information for them, and I know therefore I would not ever be allowed to inspect that school.
Not under the auspices of Ofsted or Entrust.
Under the auspices of SIAMS.
No, I see. Yes, okay. Once you've given support, you can't inspect your own support.
That's right. So therefore, I rarely now inspect a Staffordshire school.
Yeah.
Because I provide support for Staffordshire schools in quite a large detail. It's
complex, isn't it? Sorting out the procedures here and keeping one's life separate from another.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I do have about 100 schools I support throughout nationally. Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes they want SIAMs.
Yeah.
But trust.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. Through the form that support school.
We're able to give these time to us, Mary. Section.
Date on stage 3 youth now. We have to start. Went into to set the on hold. Next section. April. So that's are can see we school I need a little out the and she
public, is
so the fourth
invited.
they wanted to any pictures that's the document opportunity. It says
But all teachers approach.
Thank you for that. I thought the report was really encouraging. I thought it contained some perhaps unsurprising findings, given how, the professionalism of teachers. I particularly around looking at the conclusion 34, where I put the question. Teachers, particular using view part one, it says that evidence, personal view, and really fact the teacher, and I do that your negative perspective is what I just had issues, though. Second paragraph. Thinking RET. I just think that they.
I can interrupt. That they.
No evidence forcing the worldview. Maybe that.
Yeah.
It was an unwished right, because threw away doesn't punctuation and some their own positive.
Thank you.
Just two left out in just say, but the four set the British values, and I know that that obviously used to be called Christian values, but it was then changed to British values, and I understand now there's a desire to change it to shared values. I just wonder, there was no reference in any of this to those broader concepts. I just wonder whether it would be worth a discussion around around some of that, or was that the remit of this report? Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Mary, do you want to reply?
I'm going to be honest, Bob, I didn't hear some of it because you went on mute halfway through. I don't know if anybody else, I don't know why, but I think what you were asking was the reference to British values doesn't seem as explicit in this document as you would have liked it to be. And yeah, was that right?
I think it is. If we look at, I know we haven't got on to 6 yet, but it's very much about how this is going to develop and progress. And I'm only using British values as an example, but I just found this report was just really, and it may well be because that was the design of the report, or the objective of the research was just about the views of teachers. And I personally, I think I would have liked to have seen a little broader view, not just about, you know, teaching of religious education, but how that importantly fits into the broader social setting, especially given the fact that we have in the report a description of how those teachers with and without a religious belief feel about certain things.
Yeah, that's fair comment. I think what they're trying to address is the character development from the latest Ofsted handbook, and the ideas that character development are receiving all this renewed attention. But I know what you're saying. There isn't a lot here about British values, and it's about world views. But the argument could be, our British values, world views. Our world views, British values. It's different how you look at it, isn't it?
Absolutely, we could have that debate. My only point is that when we get on to item 6, we will see that we've identified it as a way forward. You know, it wasn't just something that I plucked out of the air. I have to say, though, everything I've said shouldn't detract from the fact that I think it is a very well-written report, and actually I think there's a lot of good news in it, and I think it's very promising. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Yes, and thank you for reading it as well. I'm not sure that we've all read it in detail like that. Yeah. But that
probably says more about me than it does anything else, I think. But there you go.
But I don't know. I think those who took part in it found that it was much about them as well. I see that Ian's got his hand up. Hello?
Thank you, Michael. Yes, I was just had a rather frivolous thought. If you look at page 32, I was looking at the RI teacher there, and I think 70 years ago, if I'd had heard talking about RI instead of a Franciscan monk indeterminate age, I would have probably passed my GCE in RI.
Oh, that's a fair comment.
Yes. I think this is an interesting report, and can I commend it to members of SACRE to think about and to bear in mind as we move forward with the review of the agreed syllabus. As Mary says, this is part of the context now with the elements and notes about character development that are in the Ofsted directory, the Ofsted guidance, and schools will be taking notice of this and will be responding to it.
Yeah.
I don't think we've got many other hands up at the moment. Oh, there's another one, is there?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure who it is. It just says a hand up.
It's Lydia
Yeah.
Bartley.
Oh, it's Linda.
Oh, no, I've not got my hand up. I think it was about a previous matter when you wanted somebody to acknowledge.
Yes.
Nothing for questions about this.
Okay, thank you.
I think Mark
Yes.
Sutton's flashing.
All right. No, I had my hand up.
You've got yours up as well, Linda.
Yes, I did have my hand up.
So
yes.
we've got 2 questions, Linda and Mark.
Well,
Right. Do you want me to go first?
Yes, please.
yes.
Thank you. Right. I must say I've only sort of flitted through it, but I was just wondering how many schools this survey was based on and where they were all based. Because I note on page 18, it said there were interviews with 30 RE teachers from a variety of secondary schools. And then there was an online questionnaire and there were 314 participants. So, but it doesn't say, unless it's hidden somewhere else, where these schools are based. Are they based, obviously, they must be wider than Birmingham because of, Lauren said she'd been interviewed, didn't she? But it doesn't seem to be many schools, really.
Okay, it says invitations to answer online questionnaires were sent to RE teachers through professional organisations, institutions, local authorities and multi-academy trusts. Over 60 days, 495 participants agreed to take part. And so all that's written on page 22.
Okay.
And some and it talks about Scotland. It talks about Buddhists, Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims, Roman Catholics. So it does seem to have tried to reach.
Yes.
May not have, but seems to try to have reached a substantial amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Ian next, was it?
Yeah.
No?
Who's next?
Ian?
Sorry, I was just pointing out that Mark Sutton seems to be flashing, although he hasn't got his hand up.
Okay,
Yeah,
Mark?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay.
Lydia, do you have a question? Because your hand is up.
Oh, no questions.
Okay.
I think people are more or less ready to reflect and think about these things a bit further and don't have any particular comments to make at the moment, questions.
No.
Yeah. I think we're grateful to Mary for bringing this important bit of research to us. And this will broaden our perspectives when we begin thinking about the revision of the syllabus and so forth.
Yeah.
I suppose one could say that the educational world is constantly evolving. And this is one of the areas of evolution at the moment.
That's correct. Yes.
Right. If we may, we move on to the next item, which quite appropriately is the procedure for the agreed syllabus review. Mary has given us a bit of background for this, which she'll go through in a moment. And when she's done that, I will work through the process that we should engage in as we enter this review period. Okay, so thank you for this paper, Mary. Item 6 we're on.
Okay, so on page 46, I've given you a little bit of information about the fact that we have to, in 2021, we have to review our agreed syllabus. This we do every 5 years. Michael's going to explain a little bit more of that in a moment. The background information I'm giving you there is to say that this is your most important function as a SACRE. And every SACRE throughout the country in 5-year cycles, they actually have to review the agreed syllabus. The agreed syllabus is a collection of words, phrases and instructions, support, etc., which is a legal document which helps schools in ensuring that the RE they teach is according to the local makeup, if you like, of your locality, and that it is still remains broadly Christian, as one would expect it to be. And it reflects that the religious traditions in Great Britain are in the main Christian, taking into account other principal religions. So that's the basis for writing the agreed syllabus. We wrote ours 5 years ago. And the way that was done is that Entrust asked other organisations to bid in order to say how much it would cost for them to write an agreed syllabus for Staffordshire. And the costings were quite astronomical. And in the end, the Entrust with Michael and myself then and Emma, we got together with some of the SACRE members in a smaller team, and we battered out, if you like, the new agreed syllabus, which is the one that we have today. It was quite forward thinking in the way it was written. Previously, we had an agreed syllabus with 2 objectives, learning about and learning from religion and from Christianity and so on. But our new agreed syllabus had 3 prongs to it, which was the engage and so on. You know, that was to do with our project. So we had 3 prongs. This was new, this was revolutionary, this hadn't been done before because everybody was still on the 2 objectives. And so this is the agreed syllabus that we have to start looking at in 2021. We don't have to complete the review in 2021 because we didn't complete the review last time within the agreed framework, but we tried our best. This time we have to look in 2021 at Ofsted and the revised inspection framework. We've got to look at assessment and how that is being rolled out in schools. We have to look, as you've pointed out, at the British values agenda and how important that is. And we, looking at the previous paper, we also have to look as well at how that might impact on the way that we review the syllabus. Now, reviewing the syllabus does not mean we have to rewrite it. It means that we can tweak it, reflect on it. We can just affirm that what we've got is good enough and is the best, or we can alter some aspects of it. Once we've done that, that's rolled out to schools. But what's going to happen now is Michael is going to actually explain to you the formal procedures. Is that all right, Michael?
Yes, okay, thanks, Mary. A quick pause in case anybody's got any questions so far.
Not a question, Michael. I've just put a note in. I'll leave now, so I don't have to interrupt you. So
bye, Judy. Thanks very much.
Bye, Judy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I hope you get through to your next meeting.
So do I.
If not, come back to us.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Right. So we have to think here that there are 2 separate bodies working side by side. We are one of those bodies, the Standing Advisory Council in RE, and what our task is to set up a parallel body, the Agreed Syllabus Conference, the ASC. And the Agreed Syllabus Conference is the body that has the power to authorise a new syllabus, which it recommends to the local authority for it to be adopted. Whether it's a completely new syllabus or a revised syllabus or a continuation of the existing syllabus. Now, it so happens that the constitution of an agreed syllabus conference is almost identical to that of a SACRE, and therefore it's often very convenient for the SACRE to be able to turn itself into the agreed syllabus conference as it needs to for the purposes of progressing the work on the review of the syllabus. Since it's the local authority that determines the constitution of the agreed syllabus conference, it may be that we will want in a short while or in the summer to recommend to the local authority that it adopts the membership of the SACRE as the membership of the agreed syllabus conference for that purpose. But we'll come to that in a moment. The first stage that we'll reach, therefore, in setting up the review process is to establish an agreed syllabus conference. And it's the SACRE that will initiate that process. And we can do it today, or we can defer it until the summer meeting. In some ways, it might be better to wait until the summer meeting to initiate the process. What the agreed syllabus conference will then do is to seek feedback on how people have experienced the existing syllabus. What's it been like? Has it worked well? Has it been deficient in other ways? Have there been any problems with it? Or in particular, has it worked so well that we really want to continue with it and are very happy with it? So there'll be a need to get feedback on the current syllabus from schools, from heads of RE, from teachers in the classroom, perhaps from other sources as well. It might be possible to get a pupil voice, who knows? Also, of course, perhaps if appropriate, from councillors and governors and other people involved with the delivery of the whole programme at a school. So the next stage, therefore, would be to get feedback and to reflect on that feedback, and to link that, thirdly, with our reflections and studies on what's going on in the field of education more widely and in the field of RE. What's happening with the development of education and assessment and RE? What's the context? Is the context changing? And how do all these things meet together with the feedback? And it's only when we've done that further exercise that we shall want to move on to the fourth stage, which is, what do we now do with our existing agreed syllabus? Do we tweak it? Do we edit it more radically? Do we feel that bits of it need to be thoroughly rewritten? Or do we think it needs to be totally rewritten? And when the agreed syllabus conference has come to an agreement about the way forward, it will initiate this, and it will produce a document at the end, which it will seek to approve of, and it has to be approved unanimously by each of the 4 groups. And then it will be put forward to the local authority to be adopted as the ongoing agreed syllabus for the authority and for the authority's schools. I should say that the SACRE will keep a watching eye on what's going on throughout this period, but the work will be done in the context of the agreed syllabus conference, and that will therefore convene as a separate body as necessary. That's an attempt to spell out what the process will consist of, and it's obviously not something you can do overnight, which is why we're allowed a certain amount of time to work through it. I mean, we could try and initiate it today, which I think would be straightforward, but in some ways it might be better to wait until the summer. But that's how I understand what the process will be, and I'm quite willing to be corrected here by Mandy or by Mary, or have questions by members of the SACRE as well. Bob. And Linda.
For that, I'm just trying to turn everything back on. I suppose it's just an observation, really, Chair, that I always feel slightly uncomfortable when, there is an organisation like SACRE that then converts itself into the conference. So, is there an element of marking our own homework here, about trying to set up what SACRE want, almost their strategic list of what we require, and then turning ourselves into a conference and agreeing that is what it looks like. I wonder whether there is an opportunity for more realistic and practical sort of scrutiny and challenge. So, for example, and it's only a thought, shouldn't the conference be largely the teaching profession? Bear in mind, this is about a syllabus that the teachers will have to deliver and be comfortable delivering. I just wonder whether there's a demarcation necessary in what SACRE wants, what the strategic aims are, and actually then a conference that talks about those tactics, for want of a better phrase, that actually are better decided by an informed teaching profession rather than a group of counsellors, for example, sitting here. Again, it's just a thought, really.
If I can respond, Bob, that's a really helpful contribution. First of all, the scrutiny that you mention is exactly the kind of thing that we would hope would come out of SACRE members and out of our own reflection on the syllabus, so that we do get asked these really searching questions and an evaluation of the syllabus that we've got at the moment. And the scrutiny that you mentioned is exactly the sort of thing that we want to emerge while we reflect on the existing syllabus. And some of this can come from within the SACRE itself, yes, and should do. And the second thing, if I may, is that one of the ways in which the Agreed Syllabus Conference proceeds is to set up working groups or working parties which are very much teacher-based and which draw on the experience of teachers in the classroom and will inform the construction and the shaping up of the new syllabus or the editing of the existing one. So we do expect very much to draw on the experience and professionalism of RE teachers themselves.
That's very reassuring. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yes, Lauren. Lauren?
Can't hear you.
Sorry, you'd think I'd be good at this by now. I'm apparently still not. Your suggestion, Michael, of having pupil voice, I think, is a really important one. And as Councillor Spencer said, I think starting with teachers who, deliver the syllabus and work with it day in, day out is a really good place to start. But I also think pupils have so much to offer. They're so much more astute quite often than we think they are in terms of kind of picking out what the syllabus is giving them and what they feel like maybe they need more of or less of. So I don't know what I can do to support with that, but certainly having pupils, particularly older pupils, convey their thoughts on what they're accessing through the syllabus at the moment, I think would be really powerful.
That's good. I did mention pupil voice, and perhaps you may be able to enable that partly, Lauren. That would be good.
Yeah,
thank you.
We could look at, I'm just thinking for purposes of GDPR and data protection, having pupils on camera is quite difficult. But if you think it would be worthwhile, I could always do some voice-only interviews that we could send to people so you could listen to what they think about what's currently going on.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's super, yes. Okay.
Last time we did the review of the syllabus, I got connections with a couple of Church of England schools, and I went in and I spoke to the pupils about it. And then Sam Kerwin and we set up a local group of teachers, and they reflected on what the children had said, and we reflected on their thoughts about the agreed syllabus. And then that was all fed into the review. So it's good to have perhaps the older viewpoint as well, because the children I spoke to were up to the age of 11 at that point. So that would be great, Lauren.
Okay, I'll pull some stuff together, and then once I've got sort of, we don't, because we're a church school, our sort of RE map follows a lot of what the agreed syllabus sets out, but there's sort of other stuff in there as well. But still, I think their reflections on the type of content that they cover and what they see to be useful from that might be helpful to people. So I'll put
and it would be useful. We would need to speak to schools that actually use the Staffordshire Agreed Syllabus, and an academy does not have to use the Staffordshire Agreed Syllabus. They can use a syllabus of any county. So maintained schools have to use ours.
That's really very helpful, Lauren. Thank you very much. I see that Linda's got a hand up too.
Yes, I think my question's partly been answered. It was who's going to be on this body called the Agreed Syllabus Conference, but I'm quite relieved to hear that there will be teachers' views taken into
can I just
into account.
Sorry, Linda, may I just sort of add a comment on that? The Agreed Syllabus Conference itself has a constitution which includes teacher reps on it, as does the SACRE itself. And the very practical, pragmatic solution is for the SACRE membership and the Agreed Syllabus Conference membership to be more or less the same for ease of communication. It's the working parties and working groups that would extend this into the more active work of the Agreed Syllabus Conference.
Okay, thank you. That's
so
that's
the SACRE would be the strategic body that oversees.
Yeah.
The working parties as the operational bodies, if that makes sense. They do the asking, the questioning, and then whoever has worked with that, it could be me, it could be Lauren, it could be any one of us working with a working party, then we bring that information back to the Agreed Syllabus Conference.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could just dot an I here on the procedure, the sort of constitutional procedure, what I would expect to happen is that when we initiate the review in a formal way by voting for it or initiating it by decision of the SACRE, this would be followed by a formal approach to the local authority, to the cabinet member who has responsibility for schools and education, to ask approval for the membership of SACRE to become the constituent membership of the Agreed Syllabus Conference. And that would require the sort of formal consent from the local authority. Linda, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, that clarifies it. Thank you very much.
Good. Any more questions? Mandy, can I ask, do you think we should initiate this now, or do we come back to it again? And I think probably come back to it again having had time to reflect in the summer. There's no urgency for it, if I can say.
I think it better come back in the summer.
Okay.
Yes, I would agree with that, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. Right, we move on to item 7 and some further good solid material here, thanks to Mary. This is collective worship support. And notice that what's been provided is described as draft information at this stage.
Oh, yeah. Last time we met, you asked if I would be able to start putting together some resources for schools on collective worship, some general thoughts, some general bits and pieces. This isn't the finished copy or anything. This is just the first part of it, because I know there's going to be input from other people as well. And as you can see from page 53 onwards, I've given you some ideas of what could be included in a resource for teachers about collective worship. There are aspects that are missing, some aspects to do with diversity, some aspects to do with multi-faith work, and all of those would need to be included as well. But so this is just, if you like, the starter of what I've been working on over the past few weeks. I have sent this to Entrust because any work I do for SACRE, I have to send to Entrust, and they also have to okay it. So I've sent them this, and they said, you're making a good start, and thank you very much, and please continue in a similar vein.
Who are we to disagree with Entrust?
It's not perfect yet. You know, it's just the beginning.
I'm just impressed by the huge range of themes that you suggest. 2 pages of 3 columns of themes. I mean, it's almost inexhaustible, isn't it?
It just shows to everybody that collective worship it can be delivered through so many vehicles and so many topics that it has to be restricted as some people believe it has to be. And I know the teachers, perhaps Sean, Lauren, and they look at this and they'll think, oh yeah, we're doing that, we do that, oh, we don't do much of that. And it just is it's, if you like, a scaffold. We call it scaffolding for teachers, and from this they can then jump off the scaffolding and just fly with it.
Tell me if I'm wrong here, Mary, but the list of themes that you've got here includes some very general ones which could draw on material from a range of faiths.
Yes.
But where there's a reference to anything from a particular faith, it tends to be Christian, doesn't it?
Yes, and that's what I said about the diversity aspect.
Would it be possible to include themes that might have a slightly more specific non-Christian reference, or would that go out beyond what you're planning?
I could do. If anybody wants to send me some suggestions, that would be good. Because I've tried.
For instance, something like pilgrimage or great leaders obviously lend themselves to much more than Christianity. But I'm just wondering, it might be strategic, if you like, and helpful to have one or two non-Christian references in as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I have got pilgrimage in there.
Yes, you
under
have.
P. I have done that one, but I had noticed that I had included something called prophethood, and that's important, isn't it? When I went through it myself with another, look at it, you think, oh, why haven't I put that in? Why haven't I put that in? So yes, we can expand that definitely. And this is why it's just a draft. It's just a beginning.
Yeah. I think it's very full, and teachers will find a sort of treasure trove here of things to build on and work on, and obviously partly drawing on your own experience, Mary, of being responsible for collective worship for a school yourself.
Yeah, and I've deliberately not said follow understanding Christianity or follow RE Today and NATRE. I mean, I could put in quite a lot of that type of thing, but then I think then I'm promoting, I'm promoting other organizations, and I just wanted to be quite a neutral type of activity, if you like. I'm not saying in order to be great at collective worship, you must follow this resource. I just wanted to be a bit more general than that.
Yes. Well, I think it's very rich. I see some people have got their hands up. Ian first.
Yeah, just following on what you said a little earlier. On page 55, the second of what the law says, the required collective worship shall be wholly or mainly of a broadly Christian character, without being distinctive of any particular denomination.
Yes.
I was just wondering, we've got to keep, according to the law, we've got to keep the Christian. We've got to sort of underline Christianity in whatever we teach, or it recommends we do.
Well, it says that I think the way the Act has been interpreted is that given a programme of collective worship over a period of time, say a term or a year, when you look at the acts of worship together, the majority of them must be wholly or mainly of a broadly Christian character, but within that there's scope for some things not to be specifically Christian in character.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Ian got a question?
That was Ian.
Oh, sorry.
It's Linda who has.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Ian. Linda.
Yes, I have noticed I've still got my hand up, but
right.
no, I do. I have thought about something. I was just thinking on your list, something like festivals could be quite a broad one. I was looking in your F.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you
Yes,
could bring in other faiths festivals.
Yeah, great, thank you. Lovely,
And,
yes.
I was just thinking also, I mean, you've answered my question. This is a draft. So I think it's really good. You know, I do collective worship at our local school with the vicar occasion. Well, we did until COVID hit. So I find this really useful. And when would you be hoping that it went into schools?
Well, I would hope to bring the final draft to the June meeting, and then it would be ready, you know, at the end, after that meeting, if you okayed it with a few more tweaks, then it'd be ready at the end of the summer term for schools to start planning on it, ready for September. Because I think we've got to give schools time, haven't we? And
Yes.
if we said we'd like some of this rolled out in September and support schools, and it would be emailed out to them, so they don't have to buy it or anything like that. It's emailed, but I would add as well some links. But I would put the warning as well that these links are okay in 2021. But imagine somebody visited this in 2022, the links might not be as appropriate because new things come on board, don't they? So I would want to be adding some remote learning links, etc. as well. So Linda, good points made there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. And Bob's got his hand up too.
Yes, thank you for that, Chair. I want to hog it. I thought it was a really good document. Obviously, Mary's put a lot of time and effort into it. Just a couple of quick points, and just following on from what Ian said. I suppose I was just looking, how does bullet point 2 differ from bullet point 4? 2 is, as you've just said, wholly or mainly of a broadly Christian character, but then 4 says not every act of worship has to be wholly or mainly of a broadly Christian character.
Yes.
I take it that means that that's that point 4 is a much longer consideration. I think, as you may have just alluded to there, about as long as over a year, the majority of it was.
Yes.
Am I right in assuming that? Yeah.
Yes, you are correct, Bob. Yes.
That's great. Actually, also, you'll have to forgive my ignorance on this, but when I read this, is there a distinction between religious education and religious worship or collective worship? I sort of rather simply see religious education as a classroom-based activity, as maths, English, history would be, whereas I have a view of collective worship as being more like a church service. So is this document in support of worship, or is it in support of religious education? Or is it both?
This document is in support of collective worship explicitly.
Yes.
But RE and collective worship will always have links.
Yeah.
So implicitly, it supports religious education.
Okay.
And if, for instance, this was a church school, the church school inspector would ask, where are the links between collective worship and religious education? Or is religious education an add-on? Or is collective worship an add-on? In other words, collective worship is a golden thread that takes into account all the things the children are really learning in school. And it weaves it all together within a Broadian Christian framework.
Well, that's in a church school. Yes. Well, I think in a school that's not got a Christian denominational foundation, you have to be a little bit more sensitive to the wider range of pupils and staff, and I think what Mary said is right, but all the parts of the experience of pupils at school must tie in together. And in that sense, collective worship is part of the broader educational experience, if you like, the educational curriculum of the pupils. And it is a part of the school life, if you like, which enables pupils to be reflective and to have the opportunity to encounter areas of experience or of activity which are not covered in other parts of the curriculum, even within RE itself. And that includes experiences of encounter with speakers, encounter with faith communities, encounter with causes, encounter with the local community and its needs. And although these aren't directly religious sometimes, they often have what many people come to them as a spiritual dimension or with a spiritual motivation. And therefore, in a sense, they have the character, the potential character of being part of this person's spiritual development, as well as their intellectual, academic, emotional, social development.
And we call that the SMSC, the spiritual, moral, social, cultural weaving of the thread through collective worship that represents what a good citizen, if you like, with British values, etc., would include in their life.
And it's a very strange thing in collective worship in a way. It provides pupils with an opportunity to reflect, to pray, to relate to God or to the divine in some form, and yet it must not compel them to do so or assume that they are doing so. It mustn't make any assumptions about what's going on in the pupil's mind at all.
No, it must be invitational is the word we use. People are invited, but not instructed. Yeah. Does that make sense?
How does that sound to members of the Sacre?
I suppose from my perspective, it was just trying to make that distinction between, again, I might have this wrong and you've just explained it in great detail there, but I suppose religious education, like all education, would be open to all students, but religious worship, again, truly is restricted to those that have a belief. But I think from what Mary was just saying, it's more a collective understanding of values rather than a worship of a particular God or religion, I suppose. Is that it? Am I right in assuming? Yeah. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Just some clarity. Again, I think it's an excellent document. Don't get me wrong. I thought obviously Mary's put a lot of time and effort into it. It was just really for my own understanding about the difference between the two and what we were trying to achieve. But thank you very much for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Bob. I think we can move on, can we? And Mary's going to produce a further draft for our summer meeting. That's great. The next item is update on NASACA, the National Association of Sacres. If I may, I'll go very quickly through one or two points here, just as they occur to me. Since we've been talking about collective worship, there's been some discussion with the Department for Education about how collective worship can be managed during the shutdown and the COVID restrictions. And we've had, if you like, a ruling from on high that it is permissible for collective worship to be carried out in bubbles. And many schools, of course, have to operate in bubbles at the moment. And you are allowed to carry out collective worship in your bubble.
And that's the information that I passed on to governors and leaders through the Governor Information Pack.
Okay, well done, Mary. On the ball.
On the ball.
And a second aspect of this that we'll be looking at in the item 10, really, although we normally just go through that as a formality, some local authorities and some Sacres have to deal with quite a lot of requests that schools should be released from the obligation for their collective worship to be wholly or mainly of a broadly Christian character. And the Sacre has the power to determine whether they should be allowed to be released from that part of the legislation and offer collective worship of a different kind, dominantly different kind. Just two things about this. The first is that because of the COVID restrictions, local authorities are being given a period of grace for schools to renew their determinations, which have to be renewed every 5 years normally. But this requires quite a lot of consultation and process. And so schools are being given a period of grace because of the particular situations nowadays. And people might be interested to know that Hampshire Sacre is actually researching what's going on with determinations across the country at the moment. We don't have any determinations because we haven't had any requested from governors or schools or parents. But we may at some time, and we have to keep open that possibility always. Members of Sacre may remember that there was a question that we talked about in our recent meetings. When we have an agreed syllabus, whose agreed syllabus is it? Who owns that agreed syllabus? Who does it belong to? And our view was that it belonged to the local authority since it is their agreed syllabus. But there's been a problem about this when some commercial organisations, particularly RE Today, have been involved in drawing up an agreed syllabus for an authority, and then claim that it is copyright, and they want to protect their own rights, intellectual property rights, in relation to the material they've produced. In fact, this reached the pages of the Daily Mail recently, with an article that claimed that some schools were keeping their RE syllabus secret and weren't allowing parents and outside bodies to know what they were teaching the pupils. Well, it was all bound up with this trying to prevent commercially sensitive material becoming available on the open market for free. And that's what was involved there. And what, as I say, our last discussion on this previous meeting was that the likelihood is that at least local authorities will be required to put out a broad description of what their agreed syllabus contains, and to allow some of the more professionally sensitive material, the schemes of work and the assessment programme and so on, not necessarily to be part of the public document. But ours is a thoroughly public document, and I'm very pleased and proud that it is. And everybody knows what schools in Staffordshire should be working towards and working with. Another bit of work that NASACA is doing at the moment is that it's actually working towards a standardised format for the Sacre annual report. It's still a statutory document, the annual report, and ours has to go through to a central body, and it's part of the legislation that this annual report should be formed and should be circulated. But that doesn't mean to say that all annual reports are equal across the Sacres. So we're looking for a standardised format, and there's negotiations going on with the Department for Education as to what this standardised format might be. If there's consensus about this, there might be a launch of this when NASACA has its annual meeting in the early summer. But we don't quite know yet whether the Department for Education is going to be sympathetic to this or not. But it would make sense for the purposes of reviewing and comparing and aggregating the annual reports as to whether they've all got the same format or not. Because if one has got this format and another's got another, how do you put the two together? How do you build up evidence or data from them together? How do you compare them? How do you evaluate them on the same basis? And finally, people might like to know that Liverpool Sacre produced a very good clip for collective worship purposes for Holocaust Memorial Day recently. This was the inspiration of Peter Bull, the head of RE there, and he was instrumental in leading one of the NASICA West Hill projects that Liverpool Sacre successfully bid for in his own school, and which was presented at the extraordinary general meeting that we had, incidentally, of NASICA in the autumn. And that clip from Holocaust Memorial Day includes an interview with Mr. Ziggy Schipper, who is a Holocaust survivor, and now a sort of man in his 90s with a growing family of his own around him. But he appeared recently on breakfast television, national breakfast television.
Yeah.
So this clip is available for use with Holocaust Memorial Day or any other time, really. I can release this for people if they wish, or I think it's now on the Interfaith Network website. So all good, very, very progressive stuff. I'm very willing to take questions about what NASICA gets up to, but that is what's available and what I can talk about at the moment.
Just an observation, you talked about agreed syllabus, and that ours is available for others if they wanted to look at it outside Staffordshire. Well, yeah. As you know, as an inspector, I inspect outside Staffordshire. And on a number of occasions, they introduced me to their agreed syllabus, which is quite revolutionary, they say. It's all about engaging and reflecting and exploring. And so they're using our Staffordshire agreed syllabus because they say it's free to use and it's a good way of exploring children's reflection on religious education as well. So that just as an adding on to that. I think that's quite lovely to hear, really.
It is. I mean, we did say it was available for people freely, providing they quote where they're getting it from.
Yes.
Where they give us accreditation. But
I did point it out to them.
Oh, well done, Mary. Yes, thank you. Any further comments? Ian's got a hand up, I think. Hello, Ian. Or has he not?
No, possibly not.
No.
Okay, right. We move on to the next item, which is the Sacre budget.
Okay, so you've got on page 73 and on the back, you've got, that be page 74, you have two budgets. The first one on page 73 is the previous budget for 2019-20. And I know we're practically at the end of the next financial year, but I needed some clarification with Judy about carry forwards, etc. So the good news is that see the numbers in brackets and in red, that was actually an overspend. So we weren't worried about carrying forward any money. We'd actually spent more than we should have, because the overspend is the money from the West Hill endowment that we received in 2018, and we insisted we carried it forward. So that's good news to know that we actually spent that money.
Yeah.
Now there is money that was sent to Entrust for the Key Stage 3 project that hasn't happened. So my next job is to check that that ring-fenced money still continues to be ring-fenced and we can use it in another financial year, because it's not going to be till the summer now, is it? So
No.
That's the one thing I need to find out is that Key Stage 3 money, which came out of the 2019-20 budget and went into Entrust's budget, whether they will allow us to just use that money in the summer for the Key Stage 3 project.
Yeah.
So we didn't lose out. So that's good news.
Are we optimistic that that we will be allowed to use it?
I've been told the auditors will have to decide. So we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
I'm wondering whether we can, Judy isn't here, but whether Judy might be able to help with that one.
I think it's the Entrust auditors, not the Staffordshire County Council auditors.
Ah, okay.
Because the money's gone from Staffordshire County Council into Entrust. And when the project was going to happen, we were going to then bring that money down from Entrust. So it's not in Staffordshire County Council's, it's in trust budget. So we have no influence over that, but I will email Jane as we get nearer now to the end of the financial year to find out what will happen with that ring fence money. Previously, I have an email that states, as soon as we know the dates for this project to happen, then that money will be released to pay for that Key Stage 3 project.
Okay, well, let's
so
hope.
I have that email, but it doesn't say provided this is in this financial year, because we didn't think that we were going to be in this position. So that's good news, isn't it, in one sense?
Yes.
Then with regard to the current budget, you can see they gave her, this is on the next page, 74, you can see they gave her £6,000. And you can see to the left-hand side, I've started to try and build up what it is we're already spending. Now you can see that there is money going to be left over. And this is the part where Judy would need to come in to actually find out, can we carry forward the money from this year's SACRE budget into next year? Because of COVID-19, yes, we've spent some of it, but we haven't spent all of it. And it would be a shame, wouldn't it, to lose £3,000, which is approximately the carry forward. So that's my next stage. Judy and I have a two-pronged attack.
Yeah.
We email together, if you see what I'm saying, and we find that that has a much better response than just individual emails. So that's where we are on that. And I hope to be able to say in June that they have allowed us to carry forward some of it.
Yeah.
If not all of it. Yeah. So that's where we are. It's all good news in one sense.
Okay. It looks as if there might be about half of that £6,000 unspent.
That's right, about 3,000 carry forward.
What might we want to spend it on?
Yeah, they may ask for a business plan, mightn't they, to say, tell us then what you would aim to spend that 3,000 on. So we could talk again about perhaps additional resources for Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. We could possibly, I could approach the high schools, the maintained high schools that we work with, to ask what would they like for their projects, in the way that I approach some of the primary schools and they approach me.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm going to have to get that okayed, first of all, by Tim Moss and Jane Thorpe before the end of the financial year. But if you want me to go ahead with that, I can do. Are you saying spend this money on schools as much as possible, Mary, if we can't carry it forward? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that just to spend it for the sake of spending it probably isn't all that constructive, unless it buys in your time. So and you can produce further teaching materials or give courses.
Well, I can put that to them, but ask them, if we can't do it in this financial year, can I then carry that forward into next financial year?
Yes.
Because I don't think I could spend £3,000 in work before April the 6th.
No.
I could do some of it, definitely. And if there was a course to be run, I couldn't run it by then, definitely not.
No. Well, let's work for the carryover. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll work on it. Definitely.
Yes.
So we've got some questions.
Ian got his hand up. Oh yes, and Linda again. If it's a new one. Can't tell whether it's a new hand or an old hand.
I'm sorry to come in. I'm going to have to leave you now. I've got another meeting coming up.
All right, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed today. Thank you.
Good. Well, thank you.
Ian.
Bye.
Okay.
And Linda?
Yeah, I was just wondering if an argument might be put that if we're obviously having to review the agreed syllabus, we might need extra money for that and setting up workshops, and you might need more hours if you're consulting with teachers and things, and maybe teachers might need to be released from their schools, so we might need more money in order to go ahead with that work.
Now, the local authority has to provide additional funds for the review of the agreed syllabus as well.
Oh.
That's part and parcel of their remit. So I have, on behalf of SACRE, approached Entrust and SEC to find out what funds would be available in the next financial year to support the rewriting, I said, could be tweaking, of the agreed syllabus. And we're waiting to hear about that, aren't we, Michael?
We
Just
are,
waiting
yes.
to see. So,
okay.
So yes, we could do two-pronged attack. If there was more money available, then it would be a much better review, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I didn't mention this when I was talking about the report from NASICA, but NASICA has been carrying out an exercise which was reported at the last SACRE meeting, a Freedom of Information survey of all local authorities to find out how well they are supporting their SACREs and whether they are using government ring-fenced money in the right way to give support to their SACREs. And there will be a report coming out about this. And that includes, of course, things like the rewriting of the agreed syllabus.
And I think we minuted that in the last meeting, that was happening, but we haven't got the report yet.
That's right. Okay. That's really good. If there's nothing more on that, then we move to item 10, application for variation of practice. This is where we consider if we've received any requests for collective worship to be varied from the regulations, the guidance given in the regulations. And we haven't received any such requests, but we have to include this as an item of business, as a routine. So we note that we haven't received any applications, and we move on. And it remains then to note that the date of the next meeting has been issued as 30th of June, Wednesday the 30th of June at 2 p.m. And that is when it will happen, unless there are changes to the programme that will originate from within the local authority. We're dependent upon the local authority drawing up its calendar of meetings when there's an annual changeover around about May. And we'll wait for that to be confirmed, but that's what we have penciled in at the moment. I have been reminded in the past that it is not part of the procedure of Staffordshire County Council committees to have any other business. However, I will use chairman's discretion here and ask if anybody has got any point they wish to raise that hasn't been raised so far, that concerns them concerning RE or collective worship or SACRE itself. Well, I am devastated. I prefer the French word désolé, to say that I cannot see most of you except when you're speaking, and have an official screen thing on my screen. I can't actually see you, but I think you can see me.
Yes, we can see you.
So can I just say thank you all very much for your presence and contributions, and for working through the kind of oddities of being in a Zoom meeting and the idiosyncrasies that come with it. And say we've had a good, productive meeting. We have carried out our due business in a responsible way. We have done so in a spirit of goodwill and cooperation. So thank you all very, very much indeed for your contributions and presence. And I say officially. Oh, I see that Saeed has a hand up.
Thank you, Michael. Just a small reminder, actually, that my area is become a hotspot. And as you know, where I'm talking to you, the school has been closed because of 21 people just from the school and teachers are COVID infected with the coronavirus. So all I'm asking, please remember these people in your thoughts and in your prayers as well. And unfortunately, every day we are getting fatalities and leaving young children behind, mom, dad, and it's a real crisis here in Anglesey. So I hope
Yes.
The God Almighty will listen to our prayer and something will turn up and we will get rid of it.
Well, I very much endorse that, Saeed, and thank you so much for sharing that. We do offer our sympathies to all the people that you know and the schools that you're in touch with who are wrestling with this at the moment. It is really a very distressing and very damaging infection. And great tragedies and great distress and pain have been caused by it. So thank you.
Yes.
On that very, very somber note, may we formally say thank you, and people are free to leave the meeting. We finished at 20 to 4.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Lovely.